The Roaring Twenties. In the 1920s, the Roaring Twenties, also known as the Jazz Age, was a decade of economic prosperity, cultural change, and social liberation. In the 1920s, the United States, fresh off its victory in World War I and the Spanish flu pandemic, experienced a period of rapid economic growth, technological advancements, and cultural upheaval. The economy boomed during the 1920s, with the stock market reaching new heights and consumer spending increasing. The introduction of installment plans, which allowed people to purchase goods on credit, contributed to the rise in consumer spending. Additionally, mass production techniques led to the availability of affordable goods, such as automobiles and radios, which further fueled the economy. Cultural changes were also evident during the 1920s. The flapper culture emerged, characterized by young women who bobbed their hair, wore shorter skirts, and embraced a more liberated lifestyle. Similarly, the Harlem Renaissance saw a flowering of African American culture, with the emergence of jazz music, literature, and art. The 1920s also saw the rise of the Lost Generation, a group of young people who rejected traditional values and embraced a more liberal lifestyle. This included a growing acceptance of alcohol, dancing, and sexual liberation. The growth of the speakeasy, an illegal drinking establishment, also contributed to this cultural change. However, not all Americans prospered during the Roaring Twenties. The economic boom was concentrated in urban areas, leaving rural America behind. Additionally, the stock market crash of 1929, which marked the end of the Roaring Twenties, brought an end to the economic prosperity and ushered in the Great Depression. The 1920s were a decade of contrasts, marked by both prosperity and inequality, liberation and repression. On one hand, the Roaring Twenties represented a period of economic growth, cultural change, and social liberation. On the other hand, it was a decade marked by inequality and the seeds of economic collapse. Nevertheless, the 1920s will always be remembered as a decade of change and progress, a time when America came of age and set the stage for the modern world. In addition to the cultural and economic changes of the 1920s, there were also significant political and social developments. The 18th Amendment, which prohibited the manufacture, sale, and transportation of alcohol, was ratified in 1919 and went into effect in 1920. This led to the rise of Prohibition and the creation of organized crime, as illegal bootlegging and speakeasies became a profitable industry. The 1920s also saw the rise of new political ideologies, such as fascism and communism. In the United States, the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist group, experienced resurgence in popularity during the 1920s. The group, which had been founded in the aftermath of the Civil War, gained new members and influence, promoting racist and anti-immigrant views. The 1920s was also a time of significant social change. Women's suffrage, the movement to grant women the right to vote, was finally successful with the passage of the 19th Amendment in 1920. Women's roles in society also began to shift, as more women entered the workforce and pursued higher education. However, despite these advancements, discrimination against women and minorities persisted. In conclusion, the Roaring Twenties was a decade of great change and progress in the United States. The economic boom, cultural upheaval, and social liberation of the decade were accompanied by political and social developments that were both positive and negative. The 1920s represented a period of progress and liberation, but also laid the foundation for the economic collapse of the 1930s and the continuation of discrimination and inequality. The Roaring Twenties continues to be a fascinating period of American history, with its impact still felt today.